Everyone, we all face challenges in life, some big, some small. When things go wrong, it's natural to want to vent, to seek sympathy, or to share our burdens with others. But today I want to talk about why we should think twice before telling people our problems. The truth is, most people don't really care. Some may pretend to listen, but they have their own problems to deal with. Others may use your struggles against you. Complaining often makes you look weak, while solving problems makes you stronger. Instead of sharing problems, let's focus on sharing solutions. Let's use our energy to overcome obstacles rather than dwell on them. A quiet, resilient mind is more powerful than words filled with complaints. That doesn't mean you should bottle up everything. Talk to people who can actually help. Mentors, close friends, or professionals. But don't make complaining a habit. The world respects those who take action, not those who dwell on their misfortunes. So, the next time you feel the urge to vent, ask yourself, is this conversation making me stronger or weaker? If it's not helping you grow, keep it to yourself, work on solutions, and let your success be your response. Most people don't care about your problems, not because they are heartless, but because they are preoccupied with their own struggle. Everyone is dealing with something: stress at work, family issues, financial worries, health concerns, or personal insecurities. When you open up about your difficulties, you may expect sympathy, advice, or encouragement, but in reality, most people are too consumed by their own lives to truly invest in yours. They may listen politely, nod along, or offer generic words of comfort, but once the conversation ends, they move on. Your problems are not their priority, nor should they be. Relying on others to care too much about your struggles can lead to disappointment. You might feel hurt when someone doesn't show the level of concern you expected, or when they quickly shift the conversation back to themselves. This doesn't mean they are bad people, it's simply human nature. We all have our own battles to fight, and our energy is limited. Most people, even those close to you, are primarily focused on their own survival and success. Expecting them to constantly carry your emotional burdens is unrealistic. Furthermore, sharing your problems with the wrong people can sometimes backfire. Instead of receiving support, you might be met with indifference, judgment, or even gossip. Some people might pretend to care, but secretly enjoy hearing about your difficulties, because it makes them feel better about their own lives. Others may use your vulnerability against you at a later time. Not everyone has good intentions, and not everyone you confide in will be a true ally. Instead of seeking validation or emotional relief by telling people your problems, focus on self-reliance. The more you depend on external sympathy, the weaker you become. Strength comes from facing your challenges head-on, finding solutions, and pushing forward despite obstacles. If you must share your struggles, choose your confidence wisely. Trusted mentors, loyal friends, or professionals who can genuinely help. But understand that in the end, no one will care about your problems as much as you do. And that's why you must be your own greatest source of strength. Some people may use your problems against you, not because they openly dislike you, but because human nature is complex. When you confide in someone, especially about your deepest struggles, you expose a vulnerable part of yourself. While some individuals may listen with genuine concern, others may silently judge you or store that information for later use. They might seem understanding in the moment, but as time goes on, they could use your words to undermine you, manipulate situations, or even discredit you in front of others. This is especially common in professional settings, competitive environments, or relationships where hidden jealousy or resentment exists. People are not always as they seem. Someone who appears to be your friend may secretly enjoy seeing you struggle because it makes them feel superior. They might not say it outright, but they could subtly remind you of your weaknesses or failures at opportune moments to diminish your confidence. Some individuals thrive on knowing more about others' problems because it gives them a sense of control. If you tell the wrong person about your personal struggles, they might spread the information as gossip, making your private concerns a topic of discussion among others. Suddenly, your moment of vulnerability is no longer just yours, it has been twisted, exaggerated, or misrepresented. In more serious situations, sharing your problems with the wrong people can be damaging to your reputation. Whether it's at work, within a social circle, or in personal relationships, people may start viewing you differently, not as someone who is strong and capable, but as someone who is struggling or weak. This perception can affect opportunities, relationships, and even the way people interact with you. Instead of offering real help, they might start distancing themselves, avoiding you, or treating you with pity rather than respect. This is why it's essential to be selective about who you confide in. Not everyone deserves to know your problems, and not everyone who listens to you has good intentions. While it's important to seek support when needed, it's equally important to guard your personal struggles against those who might misuse them. Your hardships should not become weapons for others to manipulate you. Strength lies in discretion, in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, and in understanding that some battles are best fought privately. Complaining makes you look weak, not necessarily because expressing emotions is wrong, but because constantly vocalizing problems without taking action signals helplessness. When you repeatedly share your struggles without showing any effort to resolve them, people begin to perceive you as incapable of handling life's difficulties. In a world that values strength, resilience, and perseverance, the way you present yourself plays a significant role in how others treat you. If you frequently complain about your problems, whether it's about work, relationships, finances, or personal struggles, you risk being seen as someone who dwells in negativity rather than as someone who finds solutions. People naturally gravitate towards those who exude confidence and control over their lives. When you continuously express dissatisfaction, frustration, or disappointment without working towards improvement, it sends the message that you are overwhelmed by life rather than in charge of it. Instead of offering respect or admiration, people might start to pity you, ignore you, or distance themselves from you altogether. Over time, you might find that fewer people take your words seriously because they associate you with complaints rather than action. Additionally, complaining can make you seem dependent on external validation. It suggests that you need constant reassurance from others to feel better, rather than finding strength within yourself. When you repeatedly share your problems, hoping for sympathy or advice, people may initially respond with kindness. They might start thinking, if this person isn't taking action to fix their situation, why should I keep listening? This can lead to frustration, impatience, and even avoidance from those around you. Moreover, excessive complaining weakens your mindset. The more you verbalize problems without actively working on solutions, the more you train your brain to focus on negativity. Your words shape your reality. If you constantly talk about how difficult life is, how unfair situations are, or how much you're struggling, you reinforce a victim mentality. This mindset keeps you trapped in a cycle of helplessness, making it harder to recognize opportunities or take proactive steps toward improvement. Instead of making complaints a habit, it's far more effective to channel that energy into problem solving. People respect those who face their challenges with determination and resilience. They admire those who handle their difficulties with quiet strength rather than those who broadcast their struggles without taking meaningful action. By focusing on solutions rather than problems, you not only improve your circumstances, but also earn the respect of those around you. Solutions matter more than problems because dwelling on difficulties does not change them, but actively seeking ways to overcome them does. Life is full of obstacles, setbacks, and unexpected challenges, but the way we respond to these difficulties determines the outcome. When people focus too much on their problems, they become stuck in a cycle of negativity. constantly thinking about what went wrong, why things are unfair, or how hard their situation is. This kind of mindset drains energy, clouds judgment, and prevents progress. Instead of moving forward, people who fixate on their problems often remain in the same place, feeling frustrated and hopeless. The world respects those who take action rather than those who simply talk about their struggles. Complaining about difficulties does not earn admiration or success. Finding ways to solve them does. People who are solution-oriented are seen as strong, capable, and dependable because they don't let problems define them. Instead of wasting time complaining or seeking sympathy, they channel their energy into figuring out what steps they can take to improve their situation. This proactive mindset not only helps them overcome challenges, but also inspires others to do the same. Moreover, focusing on solutions builds confidence and resilience. Every time a person successfully overcomes a challenge, they prove to themselves that they are capable of handling adversity. This strengthens their problem-solving skills, increases self-belief, and makes future obstacles seem less daunting. On the other hand, those who only talk about their problems without working on solutions weaken their self-esteem. They begin to see themselves as victims of circumstances rather than as individuals who have the power to change their reality. Over time, this negative mindset can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and even depression as they feel stuck and powerless in their struggles. Another important reason solutions matter more than problems is that people are naturally drawn to positivity and progress. Whether in personal relationships, workplaces, or social settings, individuals who bring solutions are valued more than those who bring complaints. Employers appreciate employees who find ways to fix issues rather than constantly pointing out what's wrong. Friends and family members respect those who face challenges with determination rather than those who always dwell on their difficulties. The ability to solve problems effectively not only helps in overcoming personal struggles, but also creates more opportunities for success in various areas of life. Ultimately, the key to moving forward is shifting focus from what is wrong to what can be done to make it better. Instead of getting stuck in the cycle of frustration and helplessness, it is far more beneficial to take action, explore possibilities, and remain open to solutions. The people who achieve the most in life are not the ones who have never faced difficulties, but the ones who have learned how to navigate them with a proactive and determined mindset. Venting drains your energy because it forces you to relive negative emotions over and over again without actually solving anything. Every time you talk about your problems, you are giving them more power, reinforcing the negative feelings associated with them, and making them seem bigger than they actually are. Instead of focusing on moving forward, venting keeps your mind trapped in the same cycle of frustration, anger, or sadness. While it may feel temporarily relieving to let everything out, the relief is short-lived and the problem still remains. Over time, constantly venting about issues rather than addressing them can make you feel mentally exhausted, emotionally drained, and even more overwhelmed. When you vent, you also waste valuable mental and emotional energy that could be used for finding solutions. Every thought and word carries energy. And if most of your energy is being spent on talking about the problem, very little is left for actually fixing it. The more you repeat your grievances, the more ingrained they become in your mind, creating a habit of negativity. This habit can make you feel stuck as if your problems are insurmountable, when in reality they might be solvable if approached with a different mindset. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, shifting attention toward what can be done to improve the situation is a far more productive use of mental resources. Another downside of venting is that it can attract negativity from others. When you frequently talk about your problems, You may unintentionally draw in people who thrive on complaining and negativity. Misery loves company, and if you are constantly venting, you may find yourself surrounded by others who do the same. This creates an environment where problems are discussed endlessly but never resolved, leading to an even greater sense of frustration and helplessness. Surrounding yourself with people who are solution-oriented and positive can have the opposite effect. It can inspire you to take action rather than remain stuck in a cycle of venting. Furthermore, venting can damage relationships over time. While friends, family, and colleagues may be willing to listen occasionally, constantly unloading your problems onto others can make you seem emotionally dependent. People may start to see you as someone who always has issues but never takes responsibility for resolving them. Over time, they may begin to avoid conversations with you, feel burdened by your negativity, or even grow resentful. No one wants to feel like a dumping ground for someone else's problems, and maintaining healthy relationships requires a balance between sharing struggles and demonstrating resilience. Instead of venting, a more constructive approach is to channel that energy into self-reflection and action. Taking a moment to assess a problem, considering possible solutions, and working towards improvement can lead to real change. Speaking about struggles should have a purpose. Whether it is seeking advice, brainstorming solutions, or gaining clarity, not just an outlet for frustration. By conserving energy for actions that bring results, you not only improve your circumstances, but also develop a stronger, more disciplined mindset that leads to greater success and fulfillment in life. Success is the best response because, in the end, actions speak louder than words. When faced with difficulties, setbacks, or even criticism from others, the most powerful way to respond is not through complaints, explanations, or justifications, but through achievements. Talking about problems does not change them, and seeking validation from others will not bring lasting solutions. However, when you take control of your situation, push through obstacles, and come out stronger, your success becomes undeniable proof of your resilience. Instead of trying to convince people of your struggles or hardships, let your results do the talking. Many people waste time trying to explain their challenges to those who may not truly care or understand. They seek sympathy, reassurance, or acknowledgement, but in reality, most people are too absorbed in their own lives to pay attention for long. Even if they listen for a moment, their focus will eventually shift back to their own concerns. The world does not reward those who dwell on their problems, it rewards those who rise above them. By channeling energy into progress rather than complaints, you gain the ability to turn adversity into an opportunity for growth and transformation. Additionally, when you focus on success rather than on proving a point, you naturally earn the respect of others. People admire those who overcome obstacles without making excuses. They look up to individuals who demonstrate strength, perseverance, and determination. If you constantly talk about your problems but do nothing to improve your situation, you risk being perceived as incapable or weak. On the other hand, when you quietly work through difficulties and achieve something meaningful, people take notice. Success commands attention in a way that words never can. Success is also the best revenge against those who doubt you, criticize you, or try to bring you down. Instead of wasting time arguing with people who underestimate you, prove them wrong through your achievements. Nothing frustrates a critic more than seeing the person they doubted succeed despite their negativity. When you stop focusing on defending yourself and start focusing on improving yourself, you shift your energy from external validation to internal fulfillment. Over time, your progress will make it impossible for anyone to ignore your growth. Moreover, success changes your own perspective on problems. When you are focused on achieving goals and overcoming obstacles, you no longer see setbacks as reasons to complain, but as opportunities to learn. every difficulty becomes a stepping stone rather than a roadblock. This shift in mindset not only leads to personal development but also creates a cycle of continuous improvement. The more you succeed, the more confident you become in your ability to handle challenges, which in turn leads to even greater success. Ultimately, the best way to respond to hardship is not with words, excuses, or self-pity, but with action. Instead of telling people how tough your situation is, show them how capable you are. Let your success be the evidence of your strength, determination, and perseverance. When you focus on results rather than reactions, you take control of your own story, proving to yourself and to the world that nothing can hold you back. Choosing the right people to talk to is crucial because not everyone is capable of understanding, supporting, or guiding you in a meaningful way. While it may be tempting to share your problems with anyone who is willing to listen, doing so can lead to disappointment, betrayal, or even further emotional distress. Not everyone has your best interests at heart, and even those who do may not always give the best advice. Some people might pretend to care but secretly judge you, while others may be indifferent, simply listening out of politeness rather than genuine concern. This is why it is important to be selective about who you confide in, ensuring that your words and emotions are placed in the right hands. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that just because someone is a friend, colleague, or family member, they will automatically provide the kind of support needed. The truth is, not everyone is equipped to handle serious conversations about personal struggles. Some may lack the emotional intelligence to offer constructive advice, while others may unintentionally downplay your concerns, making you feel unheard or invalidated. There are also those who, rather than helping, may respond with negativity, discouragement, or even comparison, turning the conversation into a discussion about their own problems instead of listening to yours. This can leave you feeling worse than before you opened up, adding frustration rather than relief. Additionally, sharing personal problems with the wrong people can lead to breaches of trust. Some individuals thrive on gossip and drama, and instead of keeping your struggles confidential, they may spread them to others for their own entertainment. What you thought was a private conversation can quickly turn into public knowledge, exposing you to unwanted judgment, embarrassment, or even manipulation. In workplaces, for example, confiding in the wrong colleague about personal or professional issues can be risky, as information may be used against you when promotions, evaluations, or opportunities arise. Similarly, in social circles, speaking too openly about your difficulties can change how people perceive you, making them see you as someone who is struggling rather than someone who is strong. This is why it is essential to seek out the right kind of people when discussing personal issues. People who genuinely care, have the wisdom to offer valuable insights, and are capable of keeping your trust. A mentor, a therapist, or a close and trustworthy friend with a mature perspective can offer advice and guidance that actually helps you navigate your challenges rather than just providing temporary comfort. These individuals will not only listen but also challenge you to think critically, reflect on your situation, and take steps toward a solution rather than dwelling on the problem. They will provide a safe space for you to express yourself without fear of judgment or betrayal. Another important aspect of choosing the right people to talk to is understanding when professional help is necessary. While friends and family can offer emotional support, there are situations where deeper struggles require the guidance of someone trained to help. Therapists, counselors, or experienced mentors can provide structured advice, coping mechanisms, and an unbiased perspective that friends and family may not be able to offer. Seeking help from the right professionals is not a sign of weakness, but rather a demonstration of strength and self-awareness. Ultimately, being mindful of who you confide in protects your emotional well-being and ensures that your struggles are met with the right kind of support. Not everyone deserves to know your difficulties, and choosing the right people to talk to can make all the difference between finding real solutions and simply adding more stress to your life. Dwelling on problems keeps you stuck, because the more you focus on what is wrong, the harder it becomes to see a way forward. When you constantly think about your struggles, your mind becomes consumed with negativity, making even small issues seem overwhelming. Instead of looking for solutions, you end up replaying the same thoughts over and over, reinforcing feelings of frustration, hopelessness, or self-pity. This cycle of overthinking creates mental paralysis, where no real action is taken because all the energy is spent on worrying rather than problem solving. The longer you stay in this mindset, the more powerless you feel, making it increasingly difficult to break free from the trap of negativity. Focusing too much on problems also affects your emotional and physical well-being. When your mind is constantly occupied with stress, it triggers anxiety, frustration, and even depression. This emotional strain can manifest in physical ways, such as fatigue, headaches, or a weakened immune system. Chronic stress caused by dwelling on problems drains your energy, leaving you feeling exhausted before even attempting to take action. Instead of using your strength to improve your situation, it gets wasted on endless worrying, making the problem seem even bigger than it actually is. The more you allow your mind to spiral in this way, the more difficult it becomes to shift toward a productive and solution-oriented mindset. Another danger of dwelling on problems is that it creates a habit of negativity. When you repeatedly focus on what is wrong, your brain becomes wired to look for the negative in every situation. This pattern of thinking makes it harder to recognize opportunities, silver linings, or even the smallest steps that could lead to improvement. Instead of seeing difficulties as temporary obstacles, they start to feel like permanent barriers, creating a victim mentality. When someone believes they are powerless to change their circumstances, they stop trying altogether, which only makes their problems worse. A negative mindset not only prevents progress, but also pushes away people who might have been willing to help. Furthermore, constantly thinking about problems can make them seem much bigger than they actually are. The human mind tends to magnify issues when they are given too much attention, turning small challenges into seemingly impossible hurdles. What might have started as a minor inconvenience can quickly grow into an overwhelming burden simply because of excessive focus on the problem rather than the solution. This exaggerated perception can prevent people from taking action, as they feel like no effort will be enough to fix the situation. The reality, however, is that most problems have solutions, some simple, some requiring time and effort, but they cannot be solved unless action is taken. One of the most effective ways to break free from this cycle is to shift focus from the problem to possible solutions. Instead of constantly thinking about what went wrong, ask yourself what steps can be taken to improve the situation. Taking action, even small steps, creates momentum, which leads to progress and ultimately builds confidence. By shifting from a mindset of helplessness to one of empowerment, problems begin to feel more manageable. The key is to acknowledge difficulties without letting them consume your thoughts and energy. The faster you shift from dwelling on problems to working toward solutions, the sooner you will find yourself moving forward instead of staying stuck. People have their own problems, and constantly sharing yours with them can become burdensome rather than helpful. Everyone is dealing with their own struggles, whether it be work stress, financial difficulties, health concerns, or personal conflicts. While some may be willing to listen and offer support, no one wants to be overwhelmed by someone else's negativity all the time. When you frequently talk about your problems, you risk becoming emotionally draining to others, making them less likely to want to engage with you. Over time, people may start avoiding conversations with you, not because they do not care, but because they have their own challenges to deal with and cannot afford to carry additional emotional weight. Another important factor to consider is that most people are not equipped to handle your problems. They may lack the knowledge, experience, or emotional capacity to provide meaningful support or advice. When you share your difficulties with the wrong people, you may end up receiving unhelpful or even harmful advice that does not actually improve your situation. In some cases, people may offer surface level sympathy, but deep down they might feel uncomfortable or unsure of how to respond. This can create an awkward dynamic where you feel unheard and they feel pressured to say something just to fill the silence. Instead of making you feel better, this kind of interaction can leave you feeling even more isolated and misunderstood. Constantly discussing your problems with others can also make you appear dependent or incapable of handling life's difficulties on your own. People respect those who take responsibility for their challenges and work towards solutions rather than those who always seek validation or sympathy. If you develop a habit of frequently sharing your struggles without taking action to fix them, you may be perceived as someone who thrives on negativity rather than resilience. Over time, this can affect your relationships, career, and overall reputation, as people may begin to associate you with complaints rather than progress. Those who are successful and goal-oriented tend to surround themselves with like-minded individuals, meaning that if you are constantly bringing negativity into conversations, you may find yourself pushed away from valuable connections. Additionally, sharing your problems too often can have an unintended effect of making them seem worse than they actually are. The more you talk about an issue, the more attention you give it, reinforcing your own negative emotions and keeping you stuck in a mindset of frustration. Instead of moving on, you relive the pain and stress repeatedly, which can make small issues feel much larger than they really are. This habit can prevent you from seeing solutions or taking action because your focus remains on what is wrong rather than what can be done to improve the situation. In some cases, it can even create a cycle of negativity where you begin to believe that life is always full of problems, when in reality, the way you process and discuss them plays a major role in how you experience them. Ultimately, while it is natural to want support from others during difficult times, it is important to be mindful of how often and to whom you share your problem. Not everyone can or should be expected to carry the weight of your struggles, especially when they have their own challenges to deal with. Learning to manage difficulties independently, seeking advice only from the right people, and focusing on solutions rather than repeatedly discussing the problem can lead to greater personal growth and stronger, healthier relationships. In the end, the way you handle your problems shapes not only your personal growth, but also the way others perceive and interact with you. While it is important to seek support when necessary, constantly sharing your struggles without taking action can do more harm than good. People respect those who face challenges with resilience, determination, and a solutions-oriented mindset. Instead of letting problems define you, use them as stepping stones to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Success, progress, and self-reliance will always speak louder than complaints. Focus on solutions, choose your confidence wisely, and let your actions show your strength. Because in the end, the best way to move forward is not by telling everyone about your problems, but by proving that you have the power to overcome them.